to calculate the times of each runners on the cross-country teams, like their improvements over time, as well as to keep track of their general times over the years in order to check out how much they've improved and to continuously encourage runners to improve. So we start off the program by initializing our variables. So we want to establish each runner's name, age, gender, and as well as their times for specific races. So this program is focused on calculating their 2-mile times and their 5K times, which also translate to their 3.1-mile times. So let me start there. And then here we're putting our setter and getter methods to bring back this information. So as you can see here, we initialize the name, age, gender, 2-mile times and 3.1-mile times. And here we have our setter and getter methods, where we establish and we return the information as well. And as we go along, this is where we establish our information about each of the athletes. So here, as an example, we start off with our athlete Dorothy. She is a 15-year-old female. So we first start off by establishing those attributes, and then we go on to establish a method to print that information out. And then after that we add in the information, like her times, the time she's gotten over the year she has ran. She ran for 1 year, so she has a few times for her 2-mile, and she only has one time for her 3.1 or 5K time. So we established that, and then we had the system print out, when called upon, we have it print out Dorothy's 2-mile times, and then we put in a for loop, which then would output exactly like her race times, and just establish her race times. And then we also did the same thing for her 3.1-mile times, in which we established her these times, and as well as would have the program print out that these are her race times. But we do this by having the program print out race, and then having it print out her time as well as the certain minutes as well. And then after that I implemented a code which would also calculate improvement, which is also in the improvement calculator. So for each of the athletes, I put in a method that would I started off actually putting in a method that would actually calculate this times, which is the lines 3 and 5 here. So we have the double 2-mile improvement, which double is like the type of integer because they are decimals. So we have the method there to calculate, and then for each of the athletes I did a separate system to print them out. So while I have the top method on the top, I have for each of the athletes and their names, and to specify which one, if for each of them to be called upon. And I also specified whether these would be either 2-mile times or 3.1-mile times, as there are some athletes that only ran the 2-mile or only ran the 3.1-mile. So we have a method for each of those, but that's how we call upon. We have a method here that would call upon that improvement. So we have that, and then that is what we have for each of the athletes. So we have all the runners on the cross-country team here. So for each of them, we have that system, if it's called upon, to print out all their attributes, their mile times, their 2-mile times and 3.1-mile times. as well as their improvements, and then we just have that piece of code that would call upon the improvement. So here are all the athletes mentioned. For each of them, like I said, we put their name. We added in method to call in a new athlete to add a new object to the class of athletes. So all the above are within the program, and yeah, we have all of them all in and ready to be called upon. And then after that, my program established a coaches class, which would be able to which is a target client for this IA. So we have our coaches class here, in which we establish that our athlete and how they can call upon athletes, and how they are able to not only call upon the athletes, but they're also added to the coaches list, because so the coaches are able to call upon them. But we also put an if statement. We put an if statement in order to call upon that, but I also put an else statement, which would say if anything else is inputted in the code, then we would establish that the coaches list is full, so there are no more athletes which we call upon or that can be added within the program. So, and then we also have this the performance part, like IA, where we can call. This allows the user to call upon the improvements themselves, which again would be the coaches, but still, this is basically just, it's an if statement which would help call upon these improvements, specifically the improvements rather than just the athlete themselves. So while the program can just specifically call upon the athlete and their information and times in general, this part of the program specifically allows the user to find any improvements. And it also has an else statement, which would entail that if anything else is implemented into the code which is not an integer that it's looking for, or it is not answering the question that the program asks of the user, then it would just print out error rather than crashing. So in that way, we are preventing any crashing within the program. And that is basically it. This program is just meant to calculate these times, keep track of these times, and it does so by having these different criterias and being able to have instances. Like this coach class is an instance that can call upon athletes. So basically this coach class is able to has the athletes as an object. So this is the main class, and then athletes are the objects, so the coaches can call upon them.